A young woman sits inside a moving car. Her head spins badly, and she struggles to stay awake. The driver notices her condition and assumes she has been drinking. She quietly says she feels dizzy as her eyes slowly begin to close. The girl fights to stay conscious, but her body gives in. She eventually collapses against the seat and falls unconscious. The driver smirks as he notices this. Moments later, the car suddenly stops in a deserted area. Another man quickly approaches the vehicle. The two men clearly have bad intentions toward the unconscious girl. Suddenly, she opens her eyes and asks what they are doing. The newcomer casually claims they are just trying to wake her up. The driver wears a creepy smile and tells her to stay still. He promises to give her a good time. Hannah immediately warns both men to think carefully about their next move. Instead of listening, they mock her and continue moving closer. One of the men starts unzipping his pants. But before he can do anything, Hannah strikes with a powerful kick. The attack sends him crashing to the ground instantly. She calmly reminds them that she already warned them. At that exact moment, flashing police lights cut through the darkness. Several police cars rush into the area. A lieutenant quickly calls out Hannah's name and runs toward her. He looks shocked when he notices the blood covering her body. The lieutenant lets out a deep sigh. It is clear this is not the first time Hannah has ended up in a dangerous situation. Other officers gather around and begin talking about her. One of them reveals that she is Sergeant Hannah Lee. Turns out Hannah is a famous counterterrorism agent. She was recruited from a special missions unit by a private military company. Her reputation is legendary because she has never failed a mission. As a result, the bounty on her head becomes incredibly high. The officers also mention her twin brother Do-yoon. He works for the intelligence service. One officer wonders why the famous siblings chose such different careers. He also questions why Hannah is currently in Korea and whether she might join their team. Meanwhile, the lieutenant scolds Hannah. He reminds her that he specifically ordered her not to kill anyone. Hannah remains completely calm and insists that nobody died. The lieutenant still looks doubtful after seeing the condition of the attackers. Hannah explains that she was drunk and acted in self-defense. She admits she may have gone a little overboard. Then she hands over a burner phone and a knife recovered from the scene. Both items belong to the attackers. She explains that the phone contains a recording of the entire incident. According to Hannah, the criminals attempted murder and robbery. She also points out that their actions could lead to sexual assault and intimidation charges. The evidence leaves little room for argument. Hannah then stares at the lieutenant and asks for his shirt. She points out how clean his clothes are compared to her blood-soaked outfit. Reluctantly, he hands it over. Meanwhile, the officers begin arresting the attackers. The lieutenant thanks Hannah for helping catch them. He admits the criminals might have escaped justice without her involvement. Hannah, however, prefers money over compliments. She jokingly asks for cash instead of gratitude. The lieutenant eventually promises to buy her a meal after receiving his next paycheck. As they walk toward the police car, Hannah asks him to keep her involvement secret. She insists that nobody should know she was connected to the incident. The request immediately catches his attention. Curious, the lieutenant asks about her twin brother. Hannah explains that Do-yoon has been traveling constantly over the past 2 months. She lists several countries he recently visited. She also mentions that he went to Cambodia just last week. The lieutenant comments on how quickly Do-yoon moved into real operations. After serving in the underwater demolition team, he immediately joined major missions. Hannah praises his intelligence and abilities. She explains that he is currently involved with an overseas narcotics investigation team. Suddenly, Hannah's phone starts ringing. The number comes from Cambodia. She wonders if the caller might be her brother. Without hesitation, she answers the call. A representative from the National Security and Intelligence Service speaks on the other end. Before the conversation even continues, Hannah senses something is wrong. Then the devastating news arrives. The caller informs her that Do-yoon did not survive his latest mission. Nearby, the lieutenant watches her closely. He notices her growing anger during the call. Hannah begins shouting at the person on the other end. Her emotions quickly spiral out of control. Concerned, the lieutenant walks toward her. Hannah refuses to accept what she just heard. She firmly believes the information is false. No matter what anyone says, she insists there is no way her brother could be dead. Suddenly, Hannah starts choking and collapses onto the floor. She breaks down completely and sobs uncontrollably. The pain hits her so hard that everything feels unreal. It feels like a terrible nightmare she cannot wake up from. A childhood memory suddenly flashes through her mind. Back then, her brother promised that he would always protect her. He said he would never let anyone hurt her when they grew up. That memory only makes the loss feel even more painful. Hannah suddenly wakes up in bed and stares at a photo of them together. She firmly declares that her brother is the reason she returned to Korea. Then she hears an unexpected sound somewhere in the room. Curious, she immediately starts searching for the source. After looking around, she discovers a ringing phone. Hope instantly fills her heart as she answers it. Surprisingly, the caller is actually Do-yoon. Hannah quickly asks where he is and what happened to him. The signal is extremely weak and his voice keeps cutting out. Hannah struggles to understand what he is saying. Realizing the connection is failing, she desperately asks him to give her his coordinates. She knows every second matters. Do-yoon manages to say a few words. He seems to warn her about someone named Rennie. He also mentions being in danger of getting killed. The message is incomplete, but it is enough to alarm Hannah. Hannah immediately tells him not to hang up. Instead, she instructs him to stay silent while she tracks the call. She forces herself to remain calm despite the panic building inside her. The agency claimed he was dead, yet he is clearly alive. She quickly realizes he must be using an untraceable device. That can only mean he is in serious trouble. Hannah knows she cannot waste any more time. If she delays, she might lose her brother for real. Meanwhile, on the island of Sicily in Italy, a young man steps out of a swimming pool. Water drips from his hair as he casually runs a hand through it. This man is Julio Parenti. He is the powerful leader of the Sicilian Mafia. Julio receives news about an incident in Cambodia. He immediately asks who was handling the operation. His men inform him that Niccolo was in charge. They also reveal that Niccolo was shot and killed at the scene. Without hesitation, Julio orders his men to prepare everything. He announces that they are leaving immediately. A confident smile appears on his face. He seems convinced that someone is waiting for him there. Back in Cambodia, a man named Tae-jun contacts Hannah. His voice trembles with guilt as he apologizes for failing to protect Do-yoon. Hannah immediately cuts him off. She orders him to stop crying and answer her questions. She asks the one thing she desperately wants to know. She wants to know where her brother's body is. Tae-jun hesitates before answering. His response instantly raises even more questions. Tae-jun explains that they never found Do-yoon's body. A bomb explosion destroyed the area completely. He suspects Do-yoon may have taken something from the Mafia. Because of that, they might have targeted him with a suicide bomber. Hannah wastes no time after hearing this. She orders Tae-jun to meet her at the main exit of Phnom Penh Airport at 9:20 a.m. local time. Tae-jun is shocked by her request. He immediately realizes what she is planning. Tae-jun asks if she intends to come to Cambodia herself. Hannah gives him a simple answer. Since no body was ever found, she will continue searching. As far as she is concerned, her brother is still alive. Soon, Hannah arrives in Phnom Penh. She waits anxiously for Tae-jun to appear. Eventually, he arrives and takes her to another location. He also reveals that he arranged a tuk-tuk for transportation. Tae-jun is a member of the National Security and Intelligence Service. More importantly, he was Do-yoon's closest colleague. Hannah asks why he is not driving his usual car. The question immediately makes him nervous. Tae-jun explains that he is off duty today. He awkwardly mentions stopping by the office for something urgent. While speaking, he scratches his neck and struggles to maintain eye contact. Hannah quickly notices his strange behavior. Trying to change the subject, Tae-jun suggests leaving before the heat becomes unbearable. Hannah says nothing but continues observing him. Something about his actions feels suspicious. She becomes even more alert. As they ride through the city in the tuk-tuk, Hannah hands him a phone. She tells him she needs the coordinates of the last place he saw Do-yoon. Sweat begins forming on Tae-jun's forehead. His nervousness becomes impossible to hide. Tae-jun eventually provides the information. He explains that the location is 75 kilometers north of their current position. It is near Siem Reap in a small village. The details finally give Hannah a direction to follow. Tae-jun then warns her not to get involved any further. He claims it could create serious problems if the intelligence service discovers what they are doing. Hannah completely ignores the warning. Instead, she starts asking even more questions. She demands details about Do-yoon's final mission. She asks who he contacted and what kind of drugs he was carrying. She even asks about the clothes, shoes, and transportation he used before the explosion. Every detail matters to her investigation. Hannah makes it clear that Tae-jun will answer everything. Otherwise, she promises to make things very difficult for him. Faced with her determination, he finally gives in. Reluctantly, he agrees to cooperate. The two eventually arrive at Do-yoon's apartment. Together, they begin searching through the place for clues. Hannah opens the refrigerator and examines its contents carefully. The sight immediately reminds her of her brother. Everything inside is perfectly organized. The drinks are arranged neatly and precisely. It is exactly how Do-yeon always keeps things. Even in his absence, his perfectionist habits remain visible everywhere. But, no matter how much Hannah thinks about it, her brother's death makes no sense. The entire situation feels wrong. It does not match Do-yoon's personality at all. That alone makes her even more suspicious. Tae-jun begins explaining their recent investigation. He reveals that he and Do-yoon were tracking a dangerous new drug called KA-9947A. Their mission focuses on tracing its distribution network connected to the Italian Mafia. The case quickly becomes more complicated than Hannah expected. According to Tae-jun, the drug is extremely difficult to track. Unlike most hallucinogens, it can easily be disguised as a medical substance. This allows it to move through supply chains without attracting attention. As a result, many investigators struggle to detect it. Tae-jun then explains what happened before Do-yoon disappeared. The two agents were supposed to meet at a rendezvous point connected to the drug operation. However, he suddenly lost contact with Do-yoon. The unexpected silence immediately raises concerns. When Tae-jun finally catches up to him, he demands an explanation. To his surprise, Do-yoon has already decided to continue the mission alone. This reckless decision leaves Tae-jun completely confused. Things only become stranger from there. The discovery of Do-yeon's connection to the Mafia shocks him. He still cannot understand why his partner acted that way. Listening carefully, Hannah begins processing every detail. But something continues bothering her. She still is not sure whether she can trust Tae-jun. His earlier behavior leaves too many unanswered questions. Hannah suspects he may have already informed his superiors about her arrival. Because of that, she decides to remain cautious. For now, Hannah focuses on gathering information. She keeps her guard up while questioning Tae-jun. Every answer could bring her closer to her brother. At the same time, every mistake could expose her position. Hannah also realizes another dangerous possibility. If her brother was being monitored, then his apartment may already be compromised. Someone could be watching or listening. That thought immediately puts her on alert. Without hesitation, she turns on the television. Then, she raises the volume to the maximum level. The loud noise fills the apartment instantly. It serves as a simple way to interfere with possible listening devices. As Hannah studies the room, she notices something strange. Her brother hates disorder more than anything. Everything in his life follows a precise pattern. Yet some details inside the apartment seem slightly off. Whoever entered the apartment clearly knows Do-yeon very well. However, they fail to recreate everything perfectly. The drink labels are not aligned correctly. Even the clothes hangers are arranged differently than usual. Those small mistakes catch Hannah's attention immediately. She knows her brother would never overlook details like that. As a result, she becomes convinced someone has already searched the apartment. The place is no longer trustworthy. Determined to find answers, Hannah enters Do-yeon's bedroom. She carefully examines every corner of the room. Then she notices something familiar. It is a hidden projector disguised as an ordinary lamp. Hannah immediately recognizes it. Her brother once showed her how it worked. As she studies the device, she wonders when he installed it. The discovery convinces her that he intentionally left something behind. Realizing she needs additional help, Hannah makes a difficult decision. There is one person she never planned on contacting again, but the situation is becoming too dangerous. She no longer has many options. Hannah picks up her phone and dials a familiar number. The person answers with a cheerful greeting. She remains silent for a few seconds. The voice on the other end immediately recognizes her. The man jokingly asks if she got drunk and called the wrong number again. The comment suggests a long history between them. Hannah ignores the joke completely. Instead, she simply asks how he is doing. The man is revealed to be Logan. He immediately questions why she is suddenly in Cambodia. Hannah responds with suspicion. She jokingly suggests he sounds more like a stalker than an ex-lover. Logan laughs and admits that he missed her. He even jokes about enjoying the habit of keeping an eye on her. Hannah quickly changes the subject. She tells him she needs his help. In exchange for his assistance, she offers information about an active case. She hints that the details will interest him greatly. Logan's curiosity rises immediately. He wants to know what kind of case could bring Hannah back. Hannah finally reveals the target. The investigation involves the Mafia. More specifically, it centers around Julio Parenti, the leader of the Sicilian Mafia. The moment Logan hears the name, his interest doubles. Without hesitation, Logan agrees to help. He promises to join her as soon as possible. Before ending the call, he asks if she needs anything else. Hannah immediately requests her old weapons stock. Soon, the story introduces Valentine's Day. Despite its harmless name, it is a private military company specializing in high-risk missions. Their reputation is feared across the world. When they target someone, death usually follows. At a Valentine's Day safe house in Cambodia, Hannah arrives on a motorcycle. She brakes sharply and steps off the bike. A former colleague rushes over and hugs her tightly. He wonders if her arrival means she is returning to the company. Hannah quickly shuts down the idea. She explains that she only came because she needs assistance. Then she asks about Logan. Her colleague suddenly looks disappointed. He reveals that Logan is currently at the office. He also wonders why Logan appeared so suddenly. Moments later, the mystery solves itself. Logan Valentine finally arrives. As the leader of Valentine's Day, Logan immediately gets down to business. Hannah presents a recording she recovered from her brother's room. The footage contains extremely sensitive information. What they discover is shocking. The recording connects several powerful organizations. High-profile criminals appear alongside the FBI, the CIA, and the Mafia. The evidence suggests a much larger conspiracy. Suddenly, Do-yeon's disappearance becomes even more suspicious. The footage also points toward Julio Parenti. Hannah becomes convinced that he played a role in her brother's disappearance. Officially, Do-yeon is listed as dead during a mission. Hannah refuses to believe that story. She believes her brother was secretly collecting information on both the Russian and Italian mobs. That investigation may have placed him directly in the Mafia's path. Logan listens carefully to her theory, but he still has questions. Logan admits that something feels unusual. Julio Parenti normally eliminates problems permanently. He is known for killing people instead of kidnapping them. In his eyes, kidnapping only wastes time. During the discussion, Hannah reveals another important detail. She explains that Smith and Petro developed close ties with Parenti. Their relationship began after a terrorist attack in Chicago 1 year earlier. That revelation opens up an entirely new lead in the investigation. As they continue studying the projector footage, Logan notices a familiar face. He identifies the man as Mr. Kong. Hannah immediately asks who he is. Logan remains vague and only describes him as an important client. The group begins analyzing the information. They conclude that Mewin Kong is a rising business tycoon. Because of that, Julio Parenti normally would not involve himself in small-scale drug deals. The situation feels suspicious from the start. Logan suggests another possibility. If the information is fake, someone may have impersonated Parenti. According to him, this type of deception is common in the drug trade. Criminals often use famous names to create fear and authority. However, one detail continues bothering him. He wonders why Hannah's intelligence service never considered that possibility. The oversight seems too obvious. As a result, Logan suspects the mistake may have been intentional. Suddenly, another man enters the room. He apologizes for interrupting their discussion. Then he mentions some intelligence reports received earlier that morning. His arrival immediately shifts everyone's attention. The newcomer reveals that Julio Parenti recently lost a shipment. According to the report, a Cambodian criminal organization called Mesa stole the goods. The information catches Hannah's interest instantly. She senses that it could be connected to her brother's disappearance. Curious, Hannah asks about the man's identity. She soon learns that his name is Yansong Yu. After introducing himself, he greets her politely. The atmosphere immediately becomes friendlier. Hannah shakes his hand, and Yansong responds with a warm smile. He reveals that he is of Korean descent. Because of that, he feels an immediate connection with her. He even offers to help her during her stay in Cambodia. Meanwhile, back at the apartment, Tae-jun becomes increasingly anxious. He searches for Hannah everywhere. The longer she remains missing, the more worried he becomes. Eventually, she finally returns. The moment Hannah walks through the door, Tae-jun starts scolding her. He complains about her going out alone. According to him, the area is far too dangerous. His concern appears genuine. The two enter the apartment together. Hannah grabs a bottle of water and drinks it quickly. After finishing, she slams the empty bottle onto the table. The tense atmosphere becomes even heavier. Tae-jun once again offers to accompany her in the future. He claims it would be safer if she did not wander around alone. Hannah listens quietly. Then her expression suddenly changes. Leaning against the table, Hannah admits there are many things she still does not understand. She questions both her brother's case and Tai-jun himself. Despite knowing him for years, she no longer feels certain she can trust him. Her doubts have finally reached their limit. Without warning, Hannah pulls out a gun. She points it directly at Tai-jun. The room instantly falls silent. Hannah calmly tells him to make the right choice. She begins questioning the information he previously provided. According to Hannah, there are too many missing pieces. The surveillance footage especially bothers her. Nothing about it feels complete. Hannah points out strange details from the dashcam video. In the footage, Do-yoon enters the building where the mobsters are located. Later, he is dragged back outside. Then the bomb suddenly explodes. The sequence raises serious questions. If the criminals intended to kill him, why would they show his face so clearly on camera? The entire event looks staged. Hannah becomes more convinced of that possibility. She reveals another shocking detail. The intelligence service officially declared Do-yoon dead based only on that footage. Worse yet, the video is not even the original version. It is merely an edited copy. Hannah keeps the gun aimed at Tai-jun. Her eyes never leave him. She demands an explanation for all these inconsistencies. This time, she refuses to accept vague answers. Tai-jun nervously admits that investigators found a body. However, the corpse was badly damaged by a suicide vest. The condition of the remains made a proper autopsy impossible. That alone creates another problem. According to Tai-jun, they identified the body using Do-yoon's dog tag. That single piece of evidence became the basis for the entire conclusion. Hannah immediately sees the flaw in that logic. Dog tags can be planted. Still pointing the gun at him, Hannah makes a declaration. From this moment on, Tai-jun is officially part of her investigation. He no longer has the option of staying neutral. The rules have changed. She orders him to stop investigating her activities. In return, she promises to pretend that she believes his story. It is not trust. It is simply a temporary arrangement. Hannah then gives him another instruction. He must report to his superiors that she never left Do-yoon's apartment. According to his report, she has been there since yesterday. Tai-jun reluctantly agrees to cooperate. After receiving his answer, Hannah gives a signal. Yan-song immediately steps in. Within seconds, he incapacitates Tai-jun. The operation happens so smoothly that Tai-jun barely reacts. Yan-song comments that the situation feels like a heartbreaking betrayal. Hannah disagrees with him. In her opinion, it is still too early to call it betrayal. The truth has not fully revealed itself yet. Later, Hannah rides through the city on a motorcycle. Yan-song follows alongside her. During the ride, he asks if she plans to leave the area. Hannah explains her next move. She reveals that Logan provided coordinates to a safe house. He also warned her that the Cambodian crime syndicate might target the location. The information immediately raises the stakes. Time is running out. Yan-song understands the importance of the safe house. He advises Hannah to keep a low profile until they receive further instructions. According to him, Julio Parenti will likely make a move soon. The stolen goods give him every reason to act. Hannah refuses to wait around. Instead, she decides to infiltrate the safe house herself. She wants to stay one step ahead of her enemies. The decision perfectly matches her fearless personality. As they continue traveling, Yan-song suddenly changes the subject. He becomes curious about Hannah's personal life. Specifically, he asks whether she is seeing anyone. The unexpected question catches her off guard. Hannah casually confirms that she is in a relationship. Hearing that answer, Yan-song laughs and backs off immediately. He jokingly promises not to interfere. The light-hearted moment briefly eases the tension. Soon, they reach their destination. Yan-song wishes her good luck and watches her leave. As Hannah rides away, he quietly reflects on the situation. He cannot help finding everything incredibly interesting. Eventually, Hannah arrives at the Valentine's Day safe house. She slows down and carefully studies her surroundings. The place carries memories of countless operations. Every corner feels familiar. Inside, weapons are neatly arranged and ready for deployment. The entire facility looks prepared for an upcoming mission. Seeing the equipment reminds Hannah of the dangerous world she once left behind. The memories quickly return. Standing alone in the safe house, Hannah thinks about her brother again. She wonders what kind of trouble he became involved in. Despite everything, she still hopes he will leave behind some sign that he is alive. That hope keeps her moving forward. Suddenly, her phone rings. It is Logan checking on her progress. Hannah reassures him that everything appears normal. In fact, the area seems almost too quiet. As Hannah waits at the safe house, a question keeps bothering her. She starts wondering whether Yan-song Yu is really part of Valentine's Day. One detail stands out immediately. He is not wearing the company's distinctive badge. She asks Logan about it directly. Surprisingly, Logan avoids giving a clear answer. Instead, he mentions someone named Lou. The unexpected response only confuses Hannah even more. Caught off guard, Hannah asks who Lou is. She has never heard that name before. Before she can get an answer, her nerves suddenly spike. Someone appears right in front of her. Without hesitation, Hannah reaches for her gun. She immediately points it at the stranger. The man calmly introduces himself as Edward Liu from the United States. His relaxed attitude makes the situation even stranger. Meanwhile, Logan is still on the phone. He reminds Hannah that he already warned her about Liu's presence. Realizing that Logan knows exactly who this man is, Hannah abruptly ends the call. Now she wants answers directly from Liu. Hannah demands an explanation for his sudden appearance. Liu casually jokes that he thought she might be bored. His playful response only irritates her further. She continues pressing him for the truth. Eventually, Liu becomes serious. He reveals that he has personal business in Cambodia. More importantly, he has unfinished business with Mesa. That name immediately grabs Hannah's attention. According to Liu, Mesa is one of the major criminal syndicates operating in Cambodia. The organization controls a powerful drug cartel. Not only did they steal from Julio Parenti, but they are also connected to a murder involving the Sicilian Mafia. Suddenly, everything becomes much bigger. Hannah is still confused about Yansong's involvement. She wants to know whether Liu will interfere with her mission. Liu quickly reassures her. He insists that he has no intention of becoming a problem. Instead, he suggests following the original plan. Hannah focuses on Julio Parenti. Meanwhile, he handles Mesa. The arrangement sounds reasonable, but Hannah remains cautious. Her suspicion has not completely disappeared. Suddenly, she grabs Liu by his shirt. She bluntly points out that he is not a Valentine's Day agent. Something about him still does not add up. Liu simply laughs. Then he explains that he never claimed to be an agent. According to him, he only offered to help her while she was in Cambodia. His answer technically makes sense, but Hannah is still not fully convinced. Before the conversation can continue, Hannah's phone rings. Logan is calling again. This time, he brings urgent information. The situation is about to escalate. Logan reports that Mesa is already on the move. Based on their intel, they will reach the designated location in about 3 hours. The convoy is massive. It is far larger than Hannah expected. The target consists of 40 heavily armed men. They are traveling with a trailer, 2 shipping containers, and 6 trucks. To make matters worse, Julio Parenti is already pursuing them. The collision between both sides seems inevitable. The report leaves Hannah facing a difficult question. Can she handle an operation of this scale? Despite the danger, she does not hesitate. She immediately starts planning her next move. About an hour later, Hannah discusses the operation with Yan Song. Together, they analyze the convoy's route. Hannah then reveals her strategy. It is risky, but calculated. She plans to sneak into the trailer. Before that, she intends to disable the truck in front by targeting its tires. Yansong asks whether she plans to delay the convoy until Parenti arrives. Hannah immediately rejects that idea. Instead, she explains the operation step by step. First, she will trigger a landmine when Mesa reaches the location. The explosion will create confusion among the convoy. That chaos will become her opening. Second, she plans to infiltrate the trailer during the confusion. Once inside, she will remain hidden. Finally, she will wait for Julio Parenti to arrive. That is when the real operation begins. Hannah also emphasizes that she wants minimal casualties. She is not trying to destroy the entire convoy. She only needs enough chaos to gain access to the trailer. Every move is designed around that objective. After hearing the plan, Yansong tells her to stay safe. Surprisingly, he admits that he has started developing stronger feelings for her than expected. The confession catches Hannah slightly off guard. Even so, they stay focused on the mission. Soon, the operation begins. While monitoring the convoy, Yansong confirms that Julio Parenti is indeed among the pursuers. The countdown starts. Seconds later, they execute the first phase of the plan. The explosion successfully creates confusion. However, they immediately notice movement inside the trailer. Someone is still alive in there. That unexpected development complicates everything. Without wasting time, Hannah starts climbing the trailer. She quickly reaches the top and forces her way inside. The moment she enters, gunfire erupts. The mission instantly turns into a firefight. One of the men nearly overpowers her. Fortunately, Yansong intervenes at the perfect moment. His support prevents the situation from turning disastrous. Hannah quickly thanks him before refocusing on the mission. As they continue monitoring the battlefield, Yan Song provides another update. He reports that the secondary target is approaching at high speed. Based on the trajectory, a major collision seems unavoidable. The tension rises once again. While hiding inside the trailer, Hannah overhears a conversation. One man is speaking on the phone. He complains that he never wanted Parenti's merchandise. He even expresses regret about entering the contract in the first place. Just as Hannah listens more closely, everything suddenly goes wrong. A violent collision shakes the trailer. The impact throws her off balance instantly. The entire vehicle rattles from the force. Yan Song repeatedly calls her name through the earpiece. He is worried that she might be injured. For several moments, Hannah cannot respond. The hit leaves her completely disoriented. Eventually, she slowly opens her eyes. Her hands tremble as she removes the damaged earpiece. Then she raises her firearm and prepares for whatever comes next. She knows danger is already nearby. A man suddenly approaches the trailer door. Hannah immediately aims her weapon at him. She warns him to stay back. Instead of obeying, the stranger calmly walks closer. To Hannah's shock, the man grabs the gun and presses it against his own forehead. He dares her to pull the trigger. According to him, he has been waiting for death for a very long time. The bizarre behavior completely catches her off guard. Then, without warning, he attacks. A brutal strike lands before Hannah can react. The blow knocks her unconscious almost instantly. The mission falls apart in seconds. The mysterious man lifts her onto his shoulder. His intentions are clearly sinister. He decides to take Hannah with him. Before leaving, he remarks that they will determine whether she has any value to them. In the next scene, Hannah suddenly regains consciousness. She quickly realizes that her hands are tightly bound. Panic immediately sets in, and she starts struggling against the restraints. Every second makes the situation feel worse. The man who captured her notices the movement. He casually comments on her impressive reflexes. Hannah looks up and freezes for a moment. To her surprise, the man standing before her is Julio Parenti himself. Julio studies her carefully. Then he asks who she is and whether she was waiting for him inside the trailer. Hannah confirms that she was. However, instead of answering his next question directly, she says something completely unexpected. Hannah suggests that he should remove his clothes. She explains that she cannot leave the bathroom looking as messy as she currently does. The strange response catches Julio off guard. The atmosphere instantly becomes awkward. Annoyed, Julio grabs her chin. He demands to know whether she is trying to flirt with him. He also questions whether she seriously expects to leave this place alive. His patience is clearly running thin. Hannah remains completely calm. She tells him that he may need her help sooner than he realizes. The confidence in her voice surprises him. Even while tied up, she refuses to show fear. Julio responds by shoving his fingers into her mouth. He warns her that if she enjoys this kind of situation, she should get used to it. Then he leans even closer, invading her personal space. The tension in the room continues rising. Suddenly, another man storms into the room. He immediately asks Julio what he is doing. More importantly, he wants to know why Hannah is still alive. The interruption breaks the uncomfortable moment. Julio tries explaining the situation. He claims that Hannah openly admitted she came to kill him. However, he also complains that she keeps acting strangely. The explanation only confuses the newcomer even more. The man reacts with disbelief, but the moment he notices Julio's expression, he quickly changes his attitude. Meanwhile, Hannah understands very little of the conversation since most of it is happening in Italian. Still, she senses an opportunity. While the two men argue, Hannah secretly starts cutting the rope around her wrists. She carefully works without attracting attention. The distraction gives her exactly the opening she needs. Slowly but surely, her hands become free. Eventually, the other man decides to handle the problem himself. He pulls out a gun and approaches Hannah. He clearly intends to finish the job. Unfortunately for him, he badly underestimates her. The moment he gets close enough, Hannah attacks. She quickly disarms him and steals the weapon. Within seconds, she gains complete control of the situation. The tables turn instantly. Hannah points the gun at the man. At the same time, she wraps the rope around his neck. Then she warns Julio not to take another step. Her mission has finally brought her face to face with her target. Julio raises his hands in surrender. He asks what she wants from him. Hannah wastes no time revealing her true objective. She is not here to kill him. Instead, Hannah explains that she needs his help. Specifically, she wants to find the person impersonating him. As she tightens the rope, the hostage cries out in pain. Julio quickly realizes he has little room to negotiate. Seeing no better option, Julio agrees to listen. He asks exactly what she expects from him. Hannah remains firm and focused. In exchange for his cooperation, she promises to bring the imposter to justice. Meanwhile, the police arrive at the scene of the convoy collision. Officers begin inspecting the area. One of them approaches Yansong and asks what should be done with the bodies. The aftermath of the operation is now unfolding. Yansong quietly slips some money to the officer. Then he tells him to handle the bodies however he sees fit. He describes the dead men as nothing more than criminals. The arrangement seems to satisfy the officer immediately. Yansong also points out that the police can claim full credit for the arrests. According to the report, Parenti and his men escaped with both the weapons crate and the trailer carrying cocaine. The official story is already taking shape. With that matter settled, Yansong moves on to his final task. He kneels beside one of the dead men. Then he begins wiping the contents of the man's phone. Whatever information is stored there must disappear. As he works, an unexpected visitor arrives. Taijun suddenly appears at the scene. Yansong immediately recognizes him. The reunion is far from friendly. Yansong casually remarks that he has not seen Taijun since Hannah beat him up. Then he calmly pulls out a gun. The atmosphere changes instantly. Taijun realizes he is now the one being interrogated. Yansong asks why he never mentioned that Hannah and Do-yoon are twins. Taijun appears confused by the question. He explains that he never considered it important information. Unfortunately, that answer is not good enough. Yansong cocks the weapon and points it directly at him. Then he explains what he really wants. He needs more information about Hannah Lee. Every detail suddenly matters. Trying to defend himself, Taijun shares what he knows. He explains that Hannah currently lives as an ordinary civilian. He also reveals that Do-yoon is her only remaining family member. That fact explains everything. According to Taijun, Hannah came all the way to Cambodia because she cannot abandon her brother. Losing him is simply not an option. The explanation makes perfect sense. Even Yansong seems to understand her motivation. However, Yansong reminds him that deciding what happens next is his choice. He keeps the gun trained on Taijun. Then he offers a warning. If Taijun wants to stay alive, he needs to become more useful. Eventually, Yansong lowers the weapon and starts walking away. Just before he leaves, Taijun asks one final question. He wants to know if Yansong is interested in Hannah. The question catches him by surprise. Yansong pauses for a moment. Then he admits that Sergeant Hannah is a very attractive woman. That admission speaks volumes. It also hints that his feelings may be affecting his decisions. He casually adds that he is considering adjusting his plans. The statement leaves Taijun with plenty to think about. Meanwhile, events continue unfolding elsewhere. Hannah still has her own problems to deal with. Back at Julio Parenti's location, the discussion continues. Julio once again questions Hannah's plan to catch the imposter. In his opinion, the opportunity may already be gone. His next revelation immediately changes the situation. Julio explains that the surviving Mesa members never escaped. According to his information, they were eliminated by a sniper shortly after the convoy attack. Hannah becomes frustrated after hearing Julio's explanation. She admits that she never got the chance to interrogate the Mesa members herself. That missed opportunity could have provided valuable answers. Now those leads may be gone forever. She quickly explains her reasoning. According to Hannah, her brother was investigating the imposter long before he disappeared. If she and Julio work together, they may be able to uncover the person controlling everything from the shadows. The proposal immediately grabs Julio's attention. Hannah then reveals another important detail. A rumor has been spreading that Julio ordered the assassination of a Korean intelligence agent. Coincidentally, that agent is her brother. The connection makes the situation impossible to ignore. The revelation catches Julio off guard. He asks whether that means her brother is already dead. Hannah immediately rejects the idea. She firmly insists that Do-yoon is still alive. That belief is exactly why she tracked Julio down. Before moving forward, she needed to know whether he was responsible for her brother's disappearance. Deep down, Hannah understands something important. She cannot succeed without earning Julio's trust. Perhaps sensing her sincerity, Julio makes an unexpected gesture. He calmly unbuttons his shirt and hands it to her. The act serves as a sign of goodwill. It is the first time he openly lowers his guard around her. Julio then orders one of his men, Romano, to bring Hannah a glass of wine. In return, he asks her to release Lorenzo. The offer seems simple enough. However, Hannah immediately becomes suspicious. She knows these people are criminals. Trust does not come easily in a room full of mobsters. Even though her throat feels painfully dry, she cannot stop wondering whether the drink has been tampered with. The risk is obvious. Still, Hannah decides to take the chance. She kicks Lorenzo aside and grabs the glass from Romano. Then she locks eyes with Julio. Without looking away, she drinks the wine. Almost immediately, her vision begins to blur. A wave of dizziness crashes over her. Her body becomes unstable, and she struggles to stay upright. Moments later, she collapses onto the floor. Surprisingly, Julio never intended to harm her. Beforehand, he had already arranged for a doctor to examine her. Instead of leaving her unconscious, he orders a complete medical checkup. Every aspect of her condition receives attention. Later, Hannah finds herself trapped inside a terrifying nightmare. In the dream, someone swears revenge against her. The threat feels disturbingly real. It shakes her more than she expects. Suddenly, she jerks awake. Her breathing is heavy, and sweat covers her body. For several seconds, she struggles to understand where she is. The nightmare lingers in her mind. As her thoughts clear, Hannah notices something unusual. Someone has treated her injuries while she slept. She quickly realizes that she was probably given sleeping pills. The realization explains why she slept so deeply. Hannah curses the nightmare under her breath. It is not just a random dream. It is a painful memory she desperately wishes to forget. Unfortunately, the past refuses to stay buried. The memory takes her back to her days as a Valentine's Day operative. During one mission, her actions led to a man's imprisonment. He spent 7 months behind bars because of her. That decision changed countless lives. While the man remained imprisoned, his enemies found his family. One by one, they brutally murdered every relative he had. The loss completely destroyed him. Naturally, he blamed Hannah for everything. Before disappearing, the man swore revenge. He promised that one day she would suffer the same pain. At first, Hannah dismissed the threats. She believed they were nothing more than empty words. However, as time passed, doubt slowly crept into her mind. The fear became impossible to ignore. Eventually, she found herself checking on her brother every day. His safety became an obsession. Later, she learned that the man died during a revenge plot of his own. Hearing the news brought her an unexpected feeling. For the first time in her life, she felt relieved by someone's death. The realization disturbed her deeply. That experience shattered part of her humanity. It left behind scars she never fully healed from. Even now, the memory continues haunting her. That is why the nightmare feels so real. Determined not to lose focus, Hannah pushes those thoughts aside. Her brother remains her top priority. She cannot afford distractions. Every decision must bring her closer to finding him. At the moment, however, she faces a more immediate problem. She is starving. Before making any new plans, she needs food. Only then can she think clearly. Hannah climbs out of bed and examines herself. She reflects on everything that has happened so far. She expected Julio Parenti to be dangerous. What she did not expect was how unpredictable he would be. Nothing about Julio follows normal logic. His actions constantly contradict his reputation. Hannah still has no idea why he continues keeping her alive. More importantly, he does not seem interested in accepting her proposal anytime soon. As she leaves her room, she suddenly bumps into Lorenzo. He is the same man she tied up earlier. The awkward encounter catches both of them by surprise. Hannah immediately apologizes. Secretly, she sees this as an opportunity. If she can gain Lorenzo's trust, she might learn more about Julio. Every piece of information matters, so she decides to be friendly. Unfortunately, Lorenzo remains cautious. He orders her to return to her room, then he warns her not to try anything suspicious. Clearly, he has not forgotten what happened before. Hannah quickly reassures him. She claims that she intends to be the perfect hostage. Then she asks for something much simpler. She just wants food. She explains that she has not eaten all day. Her stomach is practically begging for mercy. At first, Lorenzo refuses. However, the request slowly wears him down. After thinking it over, Lorenzo reluctantly agrees. He admits that their food supplies are running low. Even so, he allows Hannah to follow him. The decision gives her exactly what she wants. As he turns around, Lorenzo discreetly activates a microphone. The device instantly connects to Julio. Without Hannah knowing, Julio can now listen to every word they say. The mob boss is clearly keeping a close eye on her. While they walk, Lorenzo becomes curious. He asks whether she is an assassin. Then he wonders if she might be a North Korean spy. The questions come one after another. Hannah immediately denies both accusations. She explains that she once served in the South Korean Special Forces. However, those days are long behind her now. Her answer surprises Lorenzo. Then, with a small smile, Hannah describes her current situation. She jokingly calls herself a baeksu, in Korean slang. That simply means an unemployed person. The answer leaves Lorenzo completely speechless. Meanwhile, Julio continues listening to Hannah and Lorenzo's conversation through the hidden microphone. As he listens, he casually lights a cigarette. Outside, heavy rain begins, pouring from the sky. At the same time, several vehicles arrive at the location. Lorenzo eventually invites Hannah to join him for a meal. The table is covered with an impressive selection of food. Hannah stares at it in genuine surprise. The spread is far beyond what she expected from a group of mobsters. Unable to contain her curiosity, Hannah asks Lorenzo if he used to be a chef. Lorenzo smiles at the question. He explains that cooking is simply a hobby he enjoys. Then he jokingly threatens to take the food away if she does not start eating. The temptation proves too strong. Hannah quickly gives in and starts eating. To her surprise, the food tastes incredible. She openly admits that it is one of the best meals she has had in a long time. At first, she assumed Lorenzo was just another armed gangster. However, his personality continues surprising her. The more they talk, the more complicated he seems. He is nothing like the image she had in mind. Changing the subject, Hannah asks about a person named S.E. Earlier, she noticed that the name sounded distinctly Korean. Her curiosity immediately takes over. She wonders whether this person is connected to the Mafia or perhaps someone close to Julio. Lorenzo appears amused by the question. He explains that Se is simply one of their colleagues. However, he quickly follows up with a warning. According to him, Hannah should never mention that name in front of Julio. He stresses the importance of avoiding the topic. The last thing anyone wants is to upset Julio unnecessarily. The warning only makes Hannah more curious. Clearly, there is more to the story than Lorenzo is willing to reveal. The conversation soon shifts toward her brother. Hannah asks whether Lorenzo knows anything about Do-yoon's whereabouts. Instead of answering directly, Lorenzo asks the same question back. Unfortunately, neither of them has any useful information. Lorenzo then shares his own perspective. He explains that Julio Parenti is not the type of man who keeps hostages. In his experience, Julio prefers simple solutions. Eliminating people is usually far easier than keeping them alive. The statement immediately catches Hannah's attention. If Lorenzo is telling the truth, then Do-yoon's disappearance becomes even more mysterious. The situation simply does not fit Julio's usual behavior. Another piece of the puzzle falls out of place. Hannah then asks whether Julio plans to hunt down the imposter. Lorenzo lets out a tired sigh before answering. According to him, imposters are everywhere in their world. They are almost as common as everyday street criminals. The answer leaves Hannah unsatisfied. Slowly, a troubling possibility begins forming in her mind. Perhaps Julio is not genuinely interested in finding the imposter at all. Maybe his cooperation is nothing more than an act. The more she thinks about it, the more suspicious she becomes. After all, the intelligence service already believes her brother betrayed them. If she wants to clear his name, she needs hard evidence. That means staying close to Julio for now. Leaning back in her chair, Hannah begins analyzing the situation. She wonders what kind of scheme Julio might be planning behind the scenes. Every move he makes feels calculated. Trusting him completely would be a mistake. As they head back, Lorenzo suddenly asks another question. This time, he wonders whether Hannah is affiliated with the FBI. The unexpected question catches her attention. Apparently, her behavior has made quite an impression. Hannah laughs at the assumption. She assures him that she does not mind being asked questions. In fact, she enjoys it. The relaxed response makes Lorenzo regret worrying about offending her. Their casual conversation is suddenly interrupted. Julio unexpectedly appears before them. With a playful expression, he comments that the two seem to have become rather close. He even jokes that they look like they are on a date. Lorenzo immediately rejects the idea. He reminds Julio that Hannah literally tried to kill him not long ago. Then he jokingly adds that she does not match his preference for blonde women. The comment lightens the mood. Not wanting to be left out, Hannah responds as well. She casually points out that Lorenzo is not her type either. The exchange quickly turns into playful banter. For a brief moment, the tension disappears. Julio then notices something else. Hannah is still wearing his shirt. He tells her to change into something different. After all, they are about to attend a funeral. Soon, the group prepares to leave. The rain continues falling as they grab umbrellas and step outside. Their destination is a funeral for a fallen colleague. The atmosphere immediately becomes solemn. Together, they arrive at the memorial service. Flowers are placed respectfully before the deceased. One by one, people pay their final respects. The mood grows heavier with every passing moment. As the hearse carries away the coffin, emotions begin spilling out. Some attendees struggle to hold back tears. Others openly mourn their loss. The grief is impossible to ignore. During the ceremony, Hannah quietly recites a prayer in Korean. Julio notices and asks what language she is speaking. Hannah calmly explains its meaning. It is a traditional funeral prayer for the departed. According to Hannah, the prayer wishes peace and happiness for the soul of the deceased. It also asks for freedom from suffering and death. Her explanation leaves the moment feeling even more emotional. Even Julio listens quietly. Eventually, the funeral comes to an end. The rain finally begins to ease. Later, the group gathers together for another meal. The atmosphere becomes calmer than before. While eating, Hannah keeps thinking about her true objective. She knows she must maintain Julio's interest if she wants answers. Losing his attention now would ruin everything. As a result, she carefully steers the conversation. Hannah brings up the topic of trust. She suggests that Julio ask whatever questions he wants. She hopes that honesty will help build some form of cooperation. The gamble is risky but necessary. Julio studies her carefully. Then he leans forward and asks a simple question. He wants to know exactly what she desires from him. The directness catches Hannah off guard. For a moment, Hannah hesitates. The truth is that she has countless desires and questions. There are too many things she wants answers to. Narrowing them down is not easy. Julio notices her hesitation. He tells her to limit her requests to only 3. The challenge forces Hannah to think carefully. Every wish must count. With a playful smile, Hannah first asks whether he truly intends to grant them. Julio replies that it depends entirely on what she asks for. The answer is fair enough, so she finally begins listing her requests. Her first wish is simple. She wants Julio's help finding her brother, Do-yoon. Nothing matters more than that. Every decision she makes leads back to him. Her second request is to find the people responsible for targeting her brother. She wants answers and accountability. Whoever orchestrated everything cannot be allowed to disappear. The determination in her voice is unmistakable. Then comes her third request. To Julio's surprise, Hannah simply asks for her own plate of food. The unexpected answer completely catches him off guard. It is far less dramatic than he anticipated. Julio stares at her for a moment. He even asks whether the earlier meal was not enough. Hannah's appetite apparently surprises him. The conversation takes an unexpectedly humorous turn. After a brief pause, Julio makes a decision. He orders all of the staff to leave immediately. One by one, everyone exits the room. Soon, only Hannah and Julio remain behind. With no one else present, the conversation takes a strange turn when Julio Parenti suddenly leans closer to Hannah. His expression carries both amusement and curiosity. He admits that the more he thinks about it, the stranger her existence seems. Despite all his resources, he knows almost nothing about her. Julio reveals that he even assigned one of his best intelligence officers to investigate her, yet they found almost nothing. Every trail leads nowhere. To him, Hannah is practically a ghost. A dangerous smile appears on his face. Julio explains that dealing with reckless and dangerous people is something he excels at. Then he grabs her by the neck. The gesture immediately reminds Hannah just how unpredictable and unstable he truly is. Trying not to show her discomfort, Hannah asks him a question. She wonders what happens to those people after he finally breaks them. Julio's expression darkens instantly. The answer is written all over his face. He explains that people who only pretend to submit rarely meet a pleasant end. Hannah begins to understand how his mind works. His methods revolve around absolute control. That realization only makes him seem more dangerous. Still holding her attention, Julio changes the subject. He informs Hannah that her bag was recovered near the crash site. Inside, they found a video file. The contents of that video raise even more questions. The footage features Gavin Smith. More importantly, it shows Gavin alongside Do-yoon shortly before the explosion. Julio immediately wants answers. He asks Hannah what relationship she has with Smith. The question sends alarm bells ringing in Hannah's head. As she reviews the events mentally, she remembers something important. There was another man following her brother. One detail stood out above everything else. The man walked with a noticeable limp. At the time, Hannah believed he was an informant working for the enemy. Since Do-yoon was carrying the explosive device, the limping man seemed suspicious from the start. Now the truth becomes clearer. The footage confirms that the limping figure is Gavin Smith. That discovery changes everything. Suddenly, Gavin's involvement becomes impossible to ignore. The mystery surrounding Do-yoon deepens even further. Julio continues sharing what he knows. According to him, Gavin Smith was once one of the FBI's most elite agents. His reputation was legendary. However, his history is also filled with chaos and violence. Julio explains that Smith played a major role in conflicts involving the Red Mafia. Those battles threw New York City into turmoil. At one point, Smith even planned to eliminate Julio himself. Then he vanished completely. For years nobody knew where Smith went. He disappeared from the FBI's radar without a trace. Now he has suddenly resurfaced, and somehow, he is connected to Do-Yun. Hannah keeps pressing for answers. She wants to understand why Gavin became involved with her brother. Unfortunately, Julio remains skeptical. He does not believe coincidences of this scale exist. Julio admits that he trusts almost nobody. His life is filled with enemies on every side. Even loyalty means very little in his world. That is exactly why the situation bothers him. From his perspective, Do-Yun somehow became entangled with a man who once wanted him dead. That fact alone raises countless questions. Julio reminds Hannah that her brother may very well be with Gavin right now. The possibility cannot be ignored. Hannah immediately pushes back against that theory. She insists that Gavin was protecting Do-Yun. In her eyes, the former FBI agent was helping her brother survive. She refuses to believe Gavin is the enemy. Determined to make her point, Hannah grabs a knife from the table. In one swift motion, she drags the blade lightly across Julio's neck. The gesture is dangerous, but deliberate. She wants him to understand her resolve. Hannah explains that family means everything to her. Just like Julio, she is willing to do anything to protect the people she loves. Nothing will stop her from finding her brother. That conviction never wavers. She also rejects the accusations against Do-Yun. The rumors claiming he betrayed the intelligence service mean nothing to her. She knows her brother better than anyone. Deep down, she believes he is innocent. Julio barely reacts to the cut. Instead, he redirects the conversation. Once again he asks who Hannah really is. He wants the truth. According to Julio, trusting her feels impossible. She appeared out of nowhere and inserted herself into his world. Every answer only creates more questions. The mystery surrounding her continues to grow. Realizing she needs to be honest, Hannah finally reveals her identity. She introduces herself as Hannah Lee. She also admits that she works as a mercenary. The confession changes the atmosphere instantly. Then she reveals another important detail. She is connected to an organization called Valentine's Day. The name immediately catches Julio's attention. His interest becomes impossible to hide. Hannah also shares the alias she once used. She knows the name probably means nothing to him. Even so, she chooses to be completely transparent. It is the only way forward. As Julio listens, his fascination with her continues growing. The more he learns, the more intrigued he becomes. Hannah is unlike anyone he has encountered before. That unpredictability draws his attention. Without warning, Julio grabs her hand and pulls her closer. The sudden action catches Hannah off guard. The tension between them spikes immediately. The situation becomes increasingly dangerous. Reacting instantly, Hannah reaches for the knife again. This time, she drives the blade into Julio. Rather than panicking, he simply challenges her. His reaction is unsettling. Julio dares her to push the knife deeper. The challenge only highlights how reckless he truly is. Then he admits something troubling. He says he may be developing an unhealthy fascination with her. Hannah immediately shoves him away. She makes her position crystal clear. Despite everything that has happened, she is not here to kill him. Her only goal remains finding her brother. Later, Hannah finds herself wearing handcuffs. Letting out an exhausted sigh, she asks whether Julio plans to remove them. The restraints are becoming increasingly annoying, yet nobody seems eager to free her. Julio calmly replies that he knows she could probably escape them if she wanted. That is exactly why he prefers keeping them on. From his perspective, it is the safest option. Trust still has not been earned. Meanwhile, a doctor continues stitching the wound Hannah inflicted earlier. Even after being stabbed, Julio remains surprisingly composed. His behavior makes him even harder to understand. Nothing about him feels normal. As the treatment continues, Julio leans closer again. He tells Hannah that revealing his future plans would serve no purpose if she escapes. Hannah realizes she is dealing with a very dangerous man. Hannah cannot help wondering why all of her plans are falling apart. At first, she assumes Julio Parenti is just another ordinary mob boss. Her strategy seems simple enough. She only needs to manipulate him into pursuing revenge and uncovering the truth. Of course, she understands the risks involved. Even so, she believes she can stay in control of the situation. Now, however, that confidence is fading. It becomes painfully clear that she has badly underestimated him. Still searching for answers, Hannah asks about Gavin Smith. She wants to know whether Julio can find him. Julio casually replies that tracking him down is possible if he truly decides to do it. The answer immediately sparks more questions. Hannah then asks the obvious question: why does Gavin Smith want Julio dead? Julio scratches his neck casually before answering. His response catches Hannah completely off guard. According to Julio, the reason is simple. He killed Gavin Smith's younger brother. The confession is delivered so casually that it feels unsettling. For a moment, Hannah struggles to react. However, she quickly reminds herself to stay calm. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Trust me, things are only getting more interesting from here. Turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next episode. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think will happen next. I'll see you in the next recap.